Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. It is Thursday, April 10th. It is a week and a half to Easter Sunday. And tonight I'm going to show you how I make scalloped potatoes that I usually use, make this recipe not for Easter Sunday, but as a way to use up the leftover ham from Easter. You can do whichever you prefer. We don't typically have scalloped potatoes on Easter because we have a different potato dish we love. But you could certainly just make this as scalloped potatoes, leave the ham out for Easter dinner, but then also have it as a recipe to use after Easter to use up your leftover ham. We actually like to freeze our leftover ham, and so we'll make this throughout the year, just using leftover ham out of the freezer. And it's so easy. When you see, you're gonna understand why we love this recipe and why we make it so much. So let's start by making our white sauce. What did I do with my butter? It was right in my hand. And I'd be curious, throw it in the comments. Sorry, this light is not helping. Well, that just made it worse. Okay. Throw in the comments if you're hosting Easter dinner this year, or if you are traveling for Easter. Let me know what you're doing. And even if you're not hosting, is there a dish you need to make, to take? Do you have a family favorite? I know I had a post up a couple days ago asking people, what's a must-have on your Easter table? For us, no surprise, it was all about the desserts. Like, we have to have carrot cake, and that's a must-have. And then when the kids were growing up, I made a bunny cake, and that is actually what I'm going to show you how to do next Thursday night. So if you've always wanted to know how to make a bunny cake and not have it be scary looking when it's done, I will teach you that next Thursday night. And there's a couple ways to do it. I'm going to show you using a molded a pan that's a bunny shaped mold, but you can also just do it with two round, like making a cake, like typical 2-layer round cake pieces and cut it into a bunny shape. So there's a couple ways to do it, and I will show you no matter which way you bake the cake, there is a way to decorate it that works, and there's a way that doesn't, and I'm going to show you the way to do that. So, but for tonight, we are going to get our scalloped potatoes made. This is definitely a recipe that, believe it or not, could be a quick save on a busy weeknight. And so all we're really going to do is make the white sauce and then slice the potatoes and put it all together and stick it in the oven. Now I'm going to put it in our new air fryer and oven creature that's behind the camera on the other side of the room because it fits in there. The pan I have fits, and I don't have to heat my entire oven up to do it. But obviously this can just be done in a conventional oven as well, and it can be done in your microwave. So there's a couple different ways to do this recipe. I'm going to use the air fryer oven, but you have those other options as well. So I will put this recipe into a document to share with anyone who wants it, but if you want to write down the steps, the first thing we're doing is we're melting a 1/4 cup of butter, which is half a stick. So 1/4 cup of butter in the saucepan here. And that reminds me, I forgot to get the salt and pepper up. And we are going to take a cup-ish of chopped onion, and we're going to add it to that melted butter. Now, you get to decide how much onion you want. We like onion at my house. So I do a full cup, which is basically a medium onion chopped up. If you're not a huge fan of onion, do less. If you really hate onion, you could substitute by using the 3 onion rub that we offer. That'll give you a bit of an onion flavor without actually chunks of onion in it. I also chopped this with a knife, so it's pretty coarse. You could chop this with the food chopper, have it be much finer. It is completely up to you, but I do use a full cup, or it's basically a medium onion that I've chopped rather coarsely to put in here. So we want to saute these onions, and that is the correct term, by the way, for what we're doing here, in the butter until they become translucent, which generally takes just a couple minutes. And while we're waiting for that to happen, we can add our salt and pepper. So this recipe calls for, well, the original recipe that I've modified calls for 1.5 teaspoons. I think that's too much with because we're putting ham in it, and ham's already rather salty. So I don't know, do it until it looks good. I would say maybe a teaspoon, start with a teaspoon, and no more than that. And then if you think it's too salty, you can always do less the next time you make it. And then we're going to do the same with pepper. I believe it's called the original recipe, and I'll show you the original recipe that I've adapted over the years, just to give you some kicks. It's so old. It's so old. All right. So it's been a minute or two here. These onions are starting to look really good. And translucent, I'm sure most of you know what that means, but just in case you're not sure, they start to get a little see-through. So you don't want them burning on the edges. If that happens, don't start over, it's fine. But ideally, translucent is where they're not brown on the edges yet, but they're getting kind of see-through, which these are getting real close. So again, this does not have to be perfectly done. If you undercook them a little, it's gonna be fine. If you overcook them a little and they get a little brown on the edges, that's kind of a caramelization technique, honestly, and you can just tell people that you meant to do that. So that tastes just good on its own. It's just a slightly different flavor. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to make our roux. Roux, R-O-U-X, for your notes. We use an equal amount of flour as we did butter. So if you remember, it was a 1/4 cup of butter. So we've got a 1/4 cup of flour. We're going to toss in here, and now we want to stir this together, and we want it to cook for about another minute. Okay, so you want to let this flour and fat concoction cook up. If you watched me do gravy for the holidays a few months ago, it was the same thing with any kind of turkey fat, your roast beef fat. This is butter fat. All those work. And the roux is created when you mix equal parts fat with flour, and this is what's going to thicken your sauce. So much easier than putting flour and water in a contraption and shaking it real good. This is so much easier. No lumps, comes out perfect. You just want to let it cook for about a minute. I don't know why. I just know that's what I was taught by this chef. I should ask him. Why do you let the roux cook? It might just have to do with it adheres to the fat. If you put your liquid in too fast, you might end up with those lumps that you don't want. Now, typically for gravy, you would be adding water or broth at this point. We are adding milk. Milk is a little more fragile. You really don't want it to come to a boil. So I'm actually going to turn this down a little bit more, and we're going to add this slowly. We don't want to add it all at once, because if we do, it will not set up properly. You'll be back to having lumpy sauce, and nobody likes lumpy sauce. So if you look here, you can see that it's kind of all coagulated, and now we're going to add a little more milk. We want to keep mixing it up so that we don't end up with little lumps in here. And the way to do that with milk is to add it slowly. So again, if you're adding broth at this stage, you can literally add it all at one time. Don't do that with the milk. You want to add a little bit. I'm adding probably about 1/2 cup at a time. It's 2.5 cups of milk, by the way, and letting that work itself in. And again, I've also turned the heat down. Now I'm on a gas stove, so it turns down nice and quickly. If you're on electric, you might need to move your pan partly off the burner, just so that the milk doesn't get too hot too quickly, because that's what will cause lumpies in your milk, and we're trying to avoid that. This is, by the way, the most time-consuming part of this entire project, is making this white sauce, which you can see is just not taking all that long. You do want to make sure you have a good whisk that you can use in your pan. This is a nonstick pan, so I am using a nonstick whisk. If I were in a stainless pan, I would just use one of my metal whisks and it would be fine. So we're at the point now where it's pretty well mixed together. I can add the rest of the milk without any fear of it coagulating. And you can see we have a beautiful white sauce ready for our potatoes. So at this point, I don't need it to cook anymore. I'm going to turn the burner off, and we're going to move the camera around so you can see how to get your potatoes ready. So I'm kind of excited about this part, not going to lie. And let me just make sure I have the camera at the right height. I think I do, but I need to move the light. There we go. It's like, wow, it's really dark over here. And not turn the light off. Okay. All right, so now we are going to get our potatoes ready. And I started to prep these ahead of time, and I decided you just have to see this because it's so amazing. So I started to prep them ahead of time because I wanted to show you that you can get your potatoes peeled ahead, a day or two ahead, and just put them in a glass of water, or a bowl of water, pop them in your fridge with a lid on, and you can do that a day or two ahead of time so you're not having to scramble at the last minute. And I would still recommend you do that. Now, don't slice your potatoes, just peel them and put them in the water. If you slice them, they will, too much starch will be released into that water, and then they just won't come out as creamy in your scalloped potatoes. But whole, you're not going to lose a lot of starch. It'll be fine. So I started to peel these at a time so that you wouldn't have to watch me peel these, but I'm using this new peeler, and it's just magic. And I just wanted you to see how quickly you can peel the potatoes with this new rotating peeler. I mean, it's just blowing my mind how quickly I am just doing these. Now, again, I would still, even with a really great peeler, recommend you do this a couple days ahead of time. If you are making scalloped potatoes for Easter dinner, you know, maybe on Saturday, peel these up, or have somebody else peel them up, stick them in that bowl of water, get them out of the way, ready to go. But I just needed you to see how awesome this peeler is, because it's just like crazy. I was so impressed. All right. So this recipe calls for 5 large russet potatoes. I always find that an interesting designation. Just how large is large? I would rather it said to me 500 grams of potatoes, or something I can measure. But they're potatoes, so 5 largest potatoes will do the job. All right, we're gonna get these peels out of the way and get these potatoes sliced and in our baker. But look at that. I don't even know. I should have timed that. Did it take 2 minutes? I don't think it even took 2 minutes. All right. Grab my washcloth. Get a sip of water. I would like to know how the chefs do it on TV, although I suppose it's because they can like cut to commercials or just, you know, show the edited version. I cannot get through this without a drink of water. And I think I forgot to refill my water, so let's see how this is. There's enough. Okay. So, how are we going to get these potatoes sliced? We are going to use the fabulous Rapid Prep mandolin. And if you remember, it has a dial on the back that you can use to decide how thick or thin you want these to be sliced, and whether or not you're making fries or not. So for scalloped potatoes, we're turning the dial to this oval that's all filled in. It's gonna give us a flat cut, and then I want them really thin. So paper thin is 1. I'm putting them on number 2 because I don't really want them paper thin. I just want them nice and thin. And we are ready to go. So we're gonna set this up, put our ketchup in, put this piece on, take our potatoes, and try not to throw them across the kitchen. So let me just show you what kind of cut that is. Okay, so it's almost paper thin, not quite. You could do a little thinner if you like. But again, let's think of how long it's taking me to slice 5 potatoes. That's number 3. Throwing the potatoes again. My dog's over here hoping. And I'm wondering what happened to my light on the other side of the room. It's like not the greatest lighting. Sorry, friend. Oh, there it went. We'll see if she really likes potato starch. All right, ready to go. And of course, you can use this to slice all kinds of other things or make French fries, among things. But today we're just doing the potatoes. That is, by the way, all dishwasher safe, in case you've wondered. So let me get water out of the way so I don't do something. We are going to make this today. I'm making it in my deep covered baker. Just realizing all my laundry is put, like the ironing is hanging in the background there. Real life at Mary Beth. So this is our deep covered baker. It comes with this lovely lid. If I were doing this in the microwave, I would actually leave the lid on for the first part, but I'm going to be doing it in the oven, so I will be doing it with the lid off. And this is the magic. You ready? Oh, I have one more thing to get ready. Sorry. We need some ham. So I mentioned that we just keep it in the freezer. And so I'm just going to open one of these, hopefully fairly easily. I forgot to bring the scissors over. And cut it into chunks. And so again, sort of like the onion, you decide how much ham you want in here and you decide how you want it. Some people like to shave it. I like to chunk it. Totally up to you. And I pretty much just eyeball it, looking at, okay, if this scalloped potato dish would serve 6 to 8 people, then I need to cut up enough ham that would serve 6 to 8 people. So that's kind of the measurement I use. You get to decide what you want. And I will say this again. I'm showing how to make this with ham. These come out just as amazing without ham. It really is just a scalloped potato recipe I found, and I'm going to show you the original here in a minute. I found many years ago that I have adapted to what our family likes, and I think your family might like it too. All right, so that I think is going to be plenty of ham for this particular quantity of potatoes. So we have our potato, our casserole ready. And if you have a piece of stoneware like this, I mentioned earlier, you can make this recipe in your microwave and you can do it right in your stoneware. Stoneware does work great in the microwave. So what we want to do here is we want to layer about half the potatoes in here, okay? And then we're going to take our sauce, I forgot to have a scraper, and we're going to pour about half of this sauce over these potatoes. So again, just kind of eyeball it. If you're going to err on the side of not enough sauce, I would say this is a layer you can not worry about having enough sauce, because whatever you put on the top is just going to drain down and through. All right, then I like to layer the ham in and the rest of the potatoes. How easy is this? I mean, really, this is easy. This is so easy to make. There we go. We're going to just pour the rest of the sauce on top, like so. Oh, I missed a potato. It flew out. And remember, the sauce already has salt and pepper in it. It has the onions in it. You could add other vegetables if you wanted. You could chop up some broccoli and throw it in there. Up to you. All right. And here it is ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. Once that time has elapsed, I will check it for doneness, and, excuse me, and that's when I'll put the Parmesan cheese on. So let me get this thing preheating. And I'm telling you what, having that extra little oven in the kitchen on holidays is going to be such a game changer for us. I had the other air fryer over the years, which was fantastic, but it didn't hold big pieces like this. And so just to have this extra oven to put a pie in, to put a casserole in, to put a side dish in, even if it's just to keep it warm, is going to be so fantastic. All right, so again, this is going in the oven. I'm not putting the lid on. If you want to do these in the microwave, I do put the lid on for the microwave because you want that kind of steam thing going on in there. And usually start at 25 minutes and then check to see if they're done. And then add 5 minutes in additional after that until they're fork tender. And that's how I check if they're done. Put a fork in. Are they done? Great. If not, 5 more minutes. You're going to wait until they're almost done to put the Parmesan on top. And the reason is because if you put the Parmesan on now, it's just gonna sink into the milk and it just kind of gets stringy and it doesn't really do anything for the recipe. So we're gonna wait until the end, put it in for the last 5 minutes. You could even jack up the temperature a little bit so you get that crispy edge on it, but it usually just crisps up fine on its own. And also, if you want cheese mixed in with this white sauce, you could do that as well. What I would recommend is that you grate up about maybe a cup, so 4 ounces of cheddar cheese or Monterey Jack cheese. You could use Swiss cheese, you could use Gouda. Gouda would be a really excellent choice for this. And mix it into the white sauce after you've got that white sauce made, but before you pour it onto the potatoes. Or you could layer the cheese on the potatoes. So layer of potatoes, layer of cheese, ham, potatoes, cheese, more white sauce. Let me say that one more time. So it'd be potatoes, cheese, ham, half the white sauce, potatoes, cheese, and the rest of the white sauce. And so that would be adding more cheese to it. Personally, these come out so creamy. I don't feel they need any additional cheese than what's going to go on top at the end. And the Parmesan on the end, it's almost more for decoration. It does add flavor, but it also just kind of gives that crispy top thing, which is so delicious. So I'm going to get this going in the oven here as soon as it's ready. And I'm actually going to stay on. This is the end of this demo, but I'm going to stay on and do some other things that I've just been needing to do some, make some recordings of, just to have to show in other ways on social media. And so if you want to stay on live, you're welcome to do that. I am going to fix my background before, and my lighting, I don't know what happened with my lighting here. It's like I've got shadows everywhere. Before I do that, but you're welcome to stay on and watch. And well, I just went from bad to worse there. Totally up to you. I'm going to make some guacamole and I'm going to make some egg bites. And but I have to run around a little bit first. So again, if you want to stay on for that, I'd love to have you. If you're ready to hop off, that's fine too. I will just be sure, as always, to post pictures of this when it's done. There was one other quick thing I meant to show you. Some of you have seen this before, but just in case you haven't, there's a lot of different ways to get your Parmesan ready. The only way I would say please don't do, if you can help it, is use a box grater. Box graters are death to your knuckles and they take forever. Let me rephrase that because I think I made a noise. Box graters are death to your knuckles and they don't work very fast. I'll never forget trying to grate Parmesan at Sarah's when she was first married, and using a box grater she'd gotten as a shower gift, which I questioned that, and she said, well, you know, Mom, they did have a shower for me in Virginia where nobody knew that, you know, I was the Pampered Chef lady. Hold on a moment. That's my oven ready to go. All right. So anyway, took forever. And if you're wondering why box graters grate your knuckles better than the cheese or whatever it is you're working on, it's because they aren't very sharp. They're usually made with tin. They're just not sharp. So what happens when the grater isn't sharp is that the food sticks and then your hand flips. And so the knuckles end up paying the price. So we have a couple different graters that work really well for Parmesan. I'm going to show you three. We have three. Whoops, not that one. Well, let's just get all the graters out. All right, so this is the Big Daddy grater. This one has this humongous, which is awesome for making cheese curls and just big chunks of grated cheese for like nachos and things like that. And then on this side you have the very fine grater. And these do have a little cup that you can stand on and grate over, but they also come apart. And I can never do this very well on camera. Oh, here we go. Yes, maybe. There we go. Yeah. So you can use them one at a time. Okay? So the second grater, this is the coarse grater. You see me using this one all the time for like cheddar cheese and such. We also have this little microplane grater. It's excellent for your Parmesan, for things like ginger and nutmeg and other cinnamon, dark chocolate. Makes a real fine grate. So that is option B. And then option C is the cup grater. This just came out and it's pretty slick. Oops. And I want to show you how this works. So you buy your cheese like this. Costs about half buying it already grated. To buy it in a chunk and grate it yourself, the flavor is 1000% better. And with this little guy, you just grate it however your little heart desires on here, and it's collecting in the little cup on the bottom. And if you get down to the nub, it comes with this little food holder that actually works. Like, I was shocked when I first opened this up and tried it out. I thought, oh, there's no way that thing's gonna actually hold the cheese. It holds the cheese. It holds the cheese, it holds the ginger, whatever you're grating in here. And this thing is so clever. It also comes with what they call affectionately the windshield wiper. So it's a little, it's hard to see, but it's a little blade that little plastic blade that goes under this part and scoops it off the bottom, swipes it off anything that's stuck on the bottom of the grater. But here's my favorite part. You need 1/4 cup of Parmesan. You need 2 tablespoons. There's markings on the back. So you just keep grating until you have the measurement you need. And let me show you how well this thing holds the cheese. Look at that. It just holds it right on there. It's not popping off. It's not rolling off. I mean, it's just amazing. It's amazing. And there's more cheese. And say I'm like, well, I need 1/4, or I need 2 tablespoons, but I just go ahead and grate all of this piece on here, because there's no point in putting that little piece back. So I'm gonna have some leftover, not a problem. The cup in the bottom comes off. Look at all that. Look how fast that was. How fast, right? This lid goes right on top, snaps on, put it in the fridge. You have fresh grated cheese for whatever you want it for the next several days. How easy is that, right? So that's called the cup grater. All right, so that is everything about scalloped potatoes and ham.